We're back for our third episode of Codependency with our special guest from the team, our CFO, Jane Ellswood.
Oh my gosh.
You know I can just weaponize that
I know, it's
indefinitely,
kind of annoying.
right?
I'm like, oh, I'll just walk away every
Shouldn't
single
have given
time.
me the ammo, Jane. Shouldn't have given me the ammo. All right, so for someone who decided, I'm going to start on episode 3 of a 3-part episode, because that makes sense. We
Right.
still love you, but we'll catch you up. So definition of codependency and some symptoms and ways we might know that we might be acting in codependency.
Right.
Senor will hate.
Senor Jamez. I call him Jamez.
Yes.
Thank you.
I will call you Jamez.
Watch player.
Thank you, amigos.
Watch Hot Rod.
So codependency is a pattern of painful dependency on compulsive behaviors and or on approval from others in an attempt to find safety, self-worth, and identity. Okay? So some of those symptoms might look like you have difficulty experiencing appropriate levels of self-esteem. You have difficulty setting functional boundaries with other people. You have difficulty owning one's own reality appropriately. You have difficulty addressing interdependently one's adult needs and wants. And you have difficulty experiencing and expressing one's reality in moderation.
What are some other symptoms that might also pop up?
Control, resentment, impaired spirituality, addictions, mental and physical illness, and difficulty with intimacy.
All forms of intimacy.
All
Meaning-
forms.
Yeah.
Meaning
Physical sexuality, but also
Yep.
emotional intimacy. spiritual
emotional,
intimacy.
intellectual,
Right.
experiential.
So what happens, as we've named this episode, if I'm living in a codependent relationship? How do I navigate that? How do I know?
How do you know that you're in one?
Who am I? Right, but so like living in a codependent relationship, paint that. Well, let's just cut to the point. Can you be codependent by yourself?
No.
No.
Not possible.
Which I think clears up
So-
what we talked about in the first episode of all, women, right, or partners of people in addiction feeling blamed that the addiction's their fault because you're codependent. Psych, actually, you're both codependent or this wouldn't be happening.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
That's why Jeremy always said he wanted to go live in Alaska as a hermit.
That would end his codependency.
Yeah, I would.
Other side effects might be,
Moving into hyper independence.
yeah, no purpose,
Right.
He'd miss his
no
grandbaby.
intimacy,
No family.
would miss River, the
Yeah.
grandbaby.
No
Yeah.
community, depression, all those things.
Yes, that baby should have been named after me, but I'm not resentful about it.
In the least.
Caitlin, you heard me. So, this changes everything. I know we're joking about it,
Yeah.
but knowing that codependency has to be taking place between two people or a whole family system, or so
Right.
it's not, but I can't do it alone. Like, okay, great, it's not all my fault. However, now it comes with the other side of that scale. So what you're telling me is it can't change unless the other person changes?
And it doesn't help if you are continually telling the other person that they're codependent.
Yeah, thank you for the marriage 101. Jen.
Yes.
Yes, I'm actually not saying that.
No,
I know
not at
I'm
all.
sarcastic all the time on the show.
It's kind of like telling
I
your
say that
wife,
with
hey,
no
calm
sarcasm.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As
Goes
they're
really
yelling
well.
at him.
Chris, if you just try harder in addiction, or I give you some advice. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you just stop being so codependent, then maybe I'd quit being an addict.
Right. Are things you should not say. Just
Warning.
for those of you at home. Don't say those things.
Right.
But really, this is a problem.
It is.
Yeah. So
because
living in a
real
codependent
talk,
relationship-
real talk. People don't recover at the same time.
No.
Right, not at the same levels and
No,
yeah,
that's a
same
freaking
speed.
lie.
Yeah.
Right.
It's gonna be a freaking rock and roll rodeo.
Right.
Real talk.
I think Christy did a lot better job of moving out of codependency before I did.
To go back to your story in the previous episode, I think you only did because she made you. At the time you did.
You're confronted
Sure.
with it.
Sure.
Yeah, it was totally.
Time warp. You could have a year later been like, "Oh, I'm really going to work on this."
Totally.
But she said, "I'm taking a break."
Which
Ripped the Band-Aid, which forced you to make a choice.
yeah, I was
Because you're doing it
confronted with-
relationally, and she quit playing
I was confronted with my own codependence.
Well, that's why I think
by the
boundaries
choice
come in.
she made. I want to be
Correct.
clear.
Yeah.
Correct. She definitely had an influence on basically disrupting what I was experiencing with my codependence. Now, I could have chosen to double down, act out more,
Try to get
whatever.
bigger to pull her back in.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could have leaned on codependence more, which thankfully I didn't.
Yes.
Moved out of that and started
And
to
not
work.
because you're magical, because the recovery work you've done up to that point.
Right, I'd already been in doing recovery for
Correct.
over
Yep.
almost coming up on 3 years at that point.
Yep.
So it was helpful to have that foundation, the knowledge already there, so that I could recognize what was happening.
I'm just going to say, wait, what? Codependency doesn't go away as soon as you enter recovery?
Sure doesn't, Jane.
Wow.
Did yours?
So
I just had a huge epiphany. This
So
is
Jane,
I just laugh, you know?
Yeah. So Jane,
you
you
go, and
talk,
I'll tell it in a second.
You go. Do your epiphany. I'll remember.
because this is just so funny. I'm sitting here listening to James talk about this, and I'm like, holy crap. Like, Autumn decided to stop being codependent when she turned it over to God and said, God, I just don't know what to do. I just need 5 minutes. And he's like, just give me Chris.
Yep.
Right.
She did. Within 2 months after that is when I changed everything. I did my full disclosure last time.
Yep.
Like, everything changed and I became new. And did I stop the codependent behavior because of that? No.
Well, not
But
in the black and white way. It's not all or nothing.
Yeah. And so, but it really I just realized
She
that it
stopped
was like,
playing the game.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy crap, like that was like so close together.
Yeah,
It just blows me away.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
yeah, because she quit playing the codependent game.
Yeah.
And when you don't play, your spouse will either change or they won't. But when you
the
stop
relationship
The
will
relationship
change.
changes.
for sure,
Yeah.
the relationship will change. And just in my experiences, when one of you stop playing, the other person often comes along. Not always,
More
Or they
often
leave.
than
but
not.
Yeah.
more often than not.
More often than not, for sure.
Yep.
For sure. So Jane, what happened when you started? You talked earlier about it really shifted for you when you started telling people no, and you started to choose no. You said it kind of started periphery and then backed it into the deeper
Family, yeah.
relationships in my life. What happened when you started saying no?
Uh,
Everyone was just super happy with you and it went well?
No, it was pretty shocking. Like, people are like, wait, what? And I was like, no, that doesn't work for me. And that was like learning that it's like, I don't have to tell everybody everything. I just.
But was
no.
that comfortable?
No, it was not comfortable at all. And in fact,
For you or them.
yeah, and I would second guess myself and be like, oh no. But as I kept doing it more and more and more, it's kind of like, no, that doesn't work for me.
Because you were less codependent?
Yes.
Maybe?
Yeah.
And she was practicing healthy behaviors rather than leaning on codependent behaviors in order to get her sense of self-worth and identity.
Yeah.
And
Which-
safety. When
which
we
I
talk about
thought was
recovery and
safety.
safety. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was safety. Well, that's our Mark, who's been on the podcast several times, right? We'll talk about how we mistake familiar for safe.
Yeah.
Right,
Like, because it's familiar, we assume, oh, that's safety,
right.
when it is not.
Nope.
Yeah.
And
We got
you-
that from Bowen, by the way.
Bowen?
Yeah.
Who's Bowen? Okay. Bowen's got a book?
Bowen's the attachment guy.
Oh, okay.
Way back from the 60s or something.
Well,
Back
you,
in James's day.
you literally
Back in
have
James's day. James went to college with him. They used to talk on the rotary phone and telegram.
Yeah, those were good times.
Yeah. Yeah, Bowen, he's a good guy. Yeah, he's in a rest home now, but James still doing it strong. No, but yeah, but mistaking the familiar for safe, right? That it's like you can't. It will be.
Yeah.
It'll be disruptive. It's the
Yes,
Mel
yes,
Robbins
it's gonna
quote:
be
"Your healing
discomfort."
does not inspire people; it confronts them."
Yeah.
It's like recovery. When you start recovery, this doesn't go well for you.
Well, and when
It
you
never goes well.
when you start telling people no, you actually find out who are the people you can rely on. Who
What?
are the
No,
Yeah.
go say it again.
people, okay, when you start telling people no, you actually can rely on the people that are your true friends, that actually have your best interest. They're not there trying to get something from you.
They're not trying to extract something from you. They simply are
In their
honoring-
codependency.
Right.
Yes.
They're actually just trying to honor you as a person and respect your needs.
Yep.
Wow.
I know, it's crazy.
Well, it's like a 3-prong outlet versus a 2-prong outlet.
There you go.
Like everyone with codependency is looking for the matching outlet, right? And like when you switch, there's some people trying to like jam a cord in there, right?
And I'm like, no, I'm a 3-prong.
and it doesn't work, right? Like it doesn't happen. But then you find out where it does actually happen.
Yeah, yeah. And that becomes so much better than you ever thought.
Well, and I think this has been one of the, I mean, we'll, invite Jane into this. Jane was our first round draft pick on the therapy side, right? But believing in, but that was one of the big things between, James and I, and as Chris has stepped into more relationship with us professionally, is seeing each other for the way they are without the attachment, right? James seeing my light and my shine without being like, sweet, let me use that to get something from that.
Yeah.
And I remember talking to, Christy about her feelings of sincere love and connection of like, hey, Stephen, you really see James for who he really is. Sometimes he's so quiet and unassuming, he just gets lost in the crowd or hides in the back in a leather jacket, hypothetically, if you've ever been to boot camp. But to really see you for, the diamond that you really are. And I think that is the experience that happens when you choose to transform the relationship.
Yes.
But I think the fear is the relationship has to end, right? That's the fear.
Yeah.
And some do.
And some do. It's real. The fear, it's valid. It's a valid concern.
But if the relationship ends, I think it was going to end anyways.
For sure.
This just kind of...
If the
No, I don't know that I'll agree with that.
Yeah?
No, I think people are fine suffering. I know marriages in my personal life, they'll
But you
ride
can't
that
be
thing
healthy.
to the freaking grave.
Well, I would so to say it another way, I would say if you having a boundary causes someone to lose relationship with you, your relationship was on the verge of breaking anyway. I
don't think
to move
so.
towards healthy.
If you move to health, well, that's a big asterisk.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I think you can stay in garbage relationships your whole life, and y'all will just keep hanging out in the dumpster
I mean,
together.
that's the whole point of what I'm saying is you're having a boundary, and if that causes the relationship to break,
I'm choosing not to be codependent with you anymore, and that relationship is either
it just
going to
means
get
it was
stronger.
a really fragile relationship.
Yeah.
And it was, how long was it
I
really gonna
would
last?
say, and we can agree to disagree.
Sure.
What I would say is, if you leave the codependency and it breaks the relationship, newsflash, you were in a garbage relationship, and that person still wants a garbage relationship.
Right.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm totally on that camp because
All it's
recent
telling you is
things.
what the relationship was and
Yeah.
the type of relationship they want.
Okay,
Yeah,
I can get on that. And that's
Yeah.
the relationship that other person, let's say, that's the same relationship they will engage in again.
Oh,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because they're going to keep
Yeah.
dumpster
No,
diving.
I'm on board with that. Yeah.
Because I think about some of so I watched my sister April, right? Been divorced, got married, and continues the dumpster fire. Previous spouse continues the dumpster fire, right? And look at some clients I've had, and the spouse continues the dumpster fire, and they're like, "Wow, I was in the dumpster," and I'm like, "Yeah," and they're like with the banana peel and the leftover Chinese food and the smell and all that with the rats, and it's like, yeah. And it's like, wow, I can't believe
Just unaware.
I allowed myself to be treated that way or whatever.
So to, getting back on, I guess, the point of living in a codependent relationship, what do we do? The move is to healthy.
Yeah.
And one of those first ones is to recognize my worth, to what you're talking about.
Yep.
I have got
Preach.
to get in touch with my worth and my identity. Because as I can do that, that's going to
I'm not worth what this person is treating me as.
Exactly.
I'm worth what God is telling me
Right.
I am.
Right.
Yes.
Because if I can get in touch with that, then that gives me capacity then to move into self-care, boundaries. And boundaries are huge if you're going to move toward getting out of a codependent relationship.
Yes.
But I am not going to be willing to do that unless I have the self-worth and identity.
Agree
to-
100%.
To your point, to be alone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so until I can get that self-worth, that is, to me, that is step one. Because after that, the self-care, the boundaries,
Right.
the moderation of my and regulation of my emotions, all of that
The
falls
self-care.
into
Yeah.
place after that.
Yeah. And you have to be willing to lose the relationship.
Yes.
Yeah.
You always talk about with marriage.
Yes.
If leaving's
Divorce
not an
always
option,
has to be on the table.
yeah. If leaving is not an option, staying isn't a choice.
Correct.
And so
Right.
if you actually are not at an intersection that you can realistically leave
And know that you'll be okay.
and know that you'll be okay.
Despite the suffering and the grief and all of that.
Yeah, not that it won't cost you something, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
But if you can't leave,
So that was
you're not making a choice.
huge, like, breakthrough moment for me. And I remember exactly where Jeremy and I are walking, where we were at, when I just said to him,
There's a monument there, by the way, to codependency.
totally,
To Jane and Jeremy's codependency.
at the church.
Yep.
But it was, I'm going to be okay whether you're okay or not. And
Yeah.
that was me with God, where it was just like, I know God's got me, and I'm okay leaving.
Yeah. So I'd say living in a codependent relationship, if you're ahead of the curve, say you're then on your partner, then, to me, that next step is once you've got that loving yourself and you're ready to move into the next stage, to me, boundaries is like that next
Yeah.
step.
Well, boundaries
Boundaries
is
is
the
the way to
functional way it happens.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's the how.
Yes, it's,
right?
it's boundaries
Yeah.
and clear, honest,
Yeah.
and transparent communication.
Yeah.
And the boundaries are not going to manipulate your partner
No.
to change.
Well, that's
Right.
not real boundaries.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a fake
Had to be
that's
clear
the
because-
drama
Yeah.
social
Thank you for
word
the
of
clarification,
yeah.
totally.
Yes.
'Cause that
People
word has
use the
been
word boundary
hijacked.
hijacked socially.
We should
and-
probably do an episode on that.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm
Brilliant.
surprised we haven't.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good call.
Because
Good call.
that's been hijacked and
But-
used poorly.
But here's the thing I want to, in my living unashamed, say, because
Okay.
Chris says this about recovery. I think you and I have had this. I know Jane and I have had this conversation. I think James, you and I have said it several times. Jason and I were talking about it for 4 hours driving down to Arizona with you in the car. We were talking about it. I'm going to say the dark thing, and everyone's going to get pissed. Send me a nasty email. I'd love to talk to you, and tell me if I'm wrong. Living in a codependent relationship is a choice.
Yeah.
You are choosing it. Stop saying that it's the spouse's problem. Stop saying I can't get to safety because my husband keeps acting out. That is absolutely a lie. You can get to safety. You may not be able to get to safety and stay in a marriage with him.
Yeah.
That might be facts.
Right.
Don't tell me you can't get to safety because he's acting. Don't tell me you can't stop acting out because she is
Yeah.
mean, controlling, doing the
Sick.
thing or whatever. You may not stay in that marriage with her. You may not stay in that house with her. There may be separation or different things happen, but living in that codependent relationship is your choice. Grace that you didn't know how you got there,
Yeah,
to what we
yeah,
talked about in the last episode.
Yeah.
Total grace for how you got there. You didn't know what you didn't know. But if
Now
you're
you
listening to
know.
this episode, don't tell me you don't know. Shoot me an email and talk about what a jerk I am. I'm fine. We can go there. It's
a
a
choice.
choice. Living in a codependent relationship is a choice.
Once you know
Yeah.
better,
You know. Yeah.
you need to do better.
But also, you choose not to know better.
Yeah. Yeah.
There are many situations that I choose not to look
to
up,
know.
not to seek God, not to find hope, because if I know, then I have to be accountable for the fact that I'm staying, which, by the way, means you already have a knowing.
Yeah.
Right.
I just
Yeah.
want to say it, because someone's like, well,
Which
I'm not.
indicates that you're making a choice.
Right, which indicates you're making a choice out of that knowing.
I'm a redneck.
That's the well, because it's like, well, I'm not sure if I should get divorced or have all the information, or I'm like, no, but your sure movement needs to happen. You make a choice, and you're choosing not to know the info because it will force you to make a choice.
Yeah.
Because if I look at it, then I'm gonna have to be accountable for the fact that I have a knowing. Just to name that loop again. So, asking the dark question, can name it specifically or not. What relationship are you over functioning in codependency and living in a codependent relationship, knowing there is choice for you to make that you're not making because it's more comfortable?
With my kids. Yeah.
Well, your
That's
kid-
real.
Yeah.
Adult kids maybe, but minor
Yeah,
children.
yeah. No. These
that
are my
can't be the
adult
case
minor
because
children are
they're-
dependents.
They are
Yes,
dependents,
yeah.
so you can't be.
Yeah, I
calling
can't
that
go
a
to home to
codependent
7-year-old
relationship.
Porter
Go to the
or to
IRS
my 90
definition
or
of
to
what
my
a dependent
90-year-old
is.
grandma
Yeah,
who's
yeah.
living with me in a wheelchair and be like, I'm not doing this codependency anymore, Porter.
Right.
You're 7. Find your own way through life. Yeah, no.
These are my
Adult
There
adult
are
children.
actual
children
dependents.
living
Yes.
outside of the home.
No, good asterisks. They're adult
Yeah.
children.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Her children.
That was important to name.
Yes, for sure.
I know what it is.
You and I are going to name the same one, so we can just say it out loud if you'd like.
1, 2, 3.
My work. My full-time job.
Yep.
Is that where
and-
you were going?
Well, that's
No.
not the relationship you're managing. You've been clear on that for quite some time. Yours starts with an A, mine starts with a K.
Autumn.
Oh, Kayla. For
Oh
sure.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm still living in that.
Preach. Kayla, for sure. I am actively making codependent choices to manage because I'm afraid of disconnection. Down to you, James.
Can I name one a little different? I am modeling codependent behavior for my minor daughter. By
And your other children.
and my adult children.
Sure.
That currently are all actually at home for this short season. So I'm modeling codependent behavior for her rather than teaching and modeling for her healthy communication and boundaries.
In relationship with her.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm working and improving it.
It's simple. It's just not easy.
It's simple, it's just not easy. And I want to name a mountain of compassion for how scary that simple actually is
Yeah.
Amen.
and how hard that actually is when it's your relationship.
Yep.
Yeah.
Tons of compassion. Let us know what relationship you are working on to no longer live in codependency and inviting them in and up to healing and change how being different, because we know it's possible. So let us know. Send us an email at Unashamed and Afraid on socials. Again, we're a nonprofit, so donate, buy a t-shirt, help us fund some scholarships for people to go to boot camp, Heart of Woman, different things, and just help us with this movement of sharing this message and getting it to more people so they can know they're not stuck because they don't know, because they can know. So help us spread this message also by giving us 5 stars on iTunes. That's how the world sees us all. Jane, thanks for joining us on some Live Unashamed
Yeah,
episodes.
it was awesome having you on
Thank
here.
you. Thanks, James.
3 times in a row.
Jane, Jayne at Unashamed and Afraid. So if you'd like to talk to Jane, talk about your codependency, do any of that work, that's where you can find her. And until we can connect again, continue to be like Ella sitting back here and be unashamed.